She didn't come in with a briefcase, a suit, or a speech. She came in holding a plastic bottle with muddy water and a piece of cardboard where someone had written in shaky letters the name of her village. The executives at the long glass table barely looked up when the door opened. Another meeting, another request, another problem far away from their air-conditioned world, until they heard her voice. "Sir, please," the Indigenous girl said, her bare feet leaving faint dust marks on the polished floor. "My dad said you're the only one who can save our village. The river is sick, our food is gone, we are all so hungry." One of the men checked his watch. Another moved his tablet to hide a graph. The CEO adjusted his tie, annoyed, ready to tell security to take her out. But then she placed a small woven bracelet on the table, made of the last clean threads her mother had found by the river, and whispered, "If you say no, where do we go?" Before the story continues, tell me in the comments which country you're watching from. Because what happens in this room decides if her people survive or disappear. Before she ever saw a glass building, before she ever heard the word CEO, all Era knew was that the river had stopped singing. It used to be loud, so loud that the children joked it was scolding them when they stayed too long in the water. At night, the sound wrapped around the village like a blanket, constant, strong, alive. Then one morning, the sound changed. It became slower, thicker, like the river was tired. Fish stopped flashing silver near the surface. The women went out with their nets and came back with almost nothing. The men pushed their boats further and further away, returning with faces that said more than words. The children noticed first. "Why does the water smell like that?" Era asked, wrinkling her nose as a dark foam drifted against the shore. Her father, Yaru, knelt beside her. His hands were rough from paddles and nets, lined with the memory of every fish he had ever caught. He touched the surface and watched it cling, oily, to his skin. "Because someone upstream decided the river is a trash can," he muttered. He didn't say who, not yet. In the following weeks, the changes multiplied. The old mango tree near the water grew a gray crust on its roots. The small stream where they used to fill clay pots turned cloudy. Chickens pecked at the ground and found nothing. Ira's little brother cried more often, his belly empty and round at the same time. One night, Ira woke up to whispers around the fire. She stayed still on her mat, eyes barely open, listening. "It's the factory," one man said, voice low and angry. "They opened that new line. More trucks, more waste. Since then, this started." "They said they had a license," another replied bitterly. "Paper signed in the city, stamp, logo. As if paper can tell the river how to flow." "We complained," Yaru said. "We went to the office in town. The man there smiled at us with small teeth and said they were within legal limits." "Legal limits for who?" someone asked. "For fish? For children?" Silence swelled. Then another voice, old and cracking, spoke. "The river is not sick by accident," the elder woman said. "Someone is stealing its breath." Ira didn't understand all of it, but she understood hunger. The word CEO came a few days later. Iaru spread a wrinkled newspaper on the table, one of those papers that arrived wrapped around flour or sugar packets. On the front, a man in a suit smiled too wide, helmet under his arm, standing in front of bright machines. "That's him," Yaru said, tapping the picture. Ira leaned closer. The man's face was smooth, untouched by sun or river wind. His hair was perfect. His teeth were very white. "Who is he?" she asked. "The boss of the factory," her father replied. "The big boss. Bigger than the men at the office. Bigger than the ones who came here with clipboards and lied. They call him CEO. "C-O?" she repeated slowly. "Chief of everything, they say," one of the uncles added. "Chief of the money, chief of the decisions, chief of the poison." On the page, the headline read, "CEO announces record profits and expansion. We are proud of our growth." Ira studied his eyes. There was no river in them, no mud, no fish, only reflection of lights and polished glass. "Does he know we're hungry?" she asked. "I don't know what he knows," Yaru said, "but he should." The next days were measured in smaller meals, rice stretched with more water, Fish split into thinner slices, children sent to sleep with stories instead of seconds. One afternoon, Ira came back from the river carrying half a bucket of muddy water. She had tried to find a clearer spot, but the brownness clung like a stain that wouldn't wash out. She set the bucket down harder than she meant to. Some water splashed onto the floor. "Careful," her mother said gently. "We don't waste what we still have." Ira's chest burned. "This is not water," she snapped. It's like the river is crying." Her mother didn't scold her for the tone. She just looked tired. That night, Yaru didn't sit by the fire. He sat at the small table inside, a candle flickering beside the newspaper photo. He held a pen awkwardly, like it was a tool not made for his hand. "What are you doing?" Ira asked, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Trying to speak their language," he said. "On paper." He wrote slowly, each letter carved like wood. The words came out broken but true. "Sir CEO, my name is Iyaru, from the village by the lower river. We are hungry because the water is not clean. Fish dying. Children sick. We know it is your factory. Please stop. Please help fix. We cannot move. This is our only place." The candle burned lower. When he finished, he blew out a tired breath. "Will you send it?" Ira asked. He looked at the letter for a long time. "I don't know if it will ever reach his hands," he said. "Maybe it will die in some desk, but we have to try. If we stay quiet, they will say we agreed." He folded the paper carefully, as if it were something fragile and sacred. A few days later, he traveled to town with 2 other men, letter in hand. He came back with dust on his clothes and a new emptiness in his eyes. "What happened?" his wife asked. "They laughed," he said simply. The girl at the counter said, "This is not how you talk to important people." She said there is a protocol, forms, emails, as if hunger can write emails. "Did they at least take the letter?" Ira asked. He hesitated. "I don't know if it will move from that desk," he admitted, "but I saw something." He pulled a crumpled flyer from his pocket and placed it on the table. It showed the same man from the newspaper, the CEO, standing in front of a crowd, giving a speech. At the top, in big letters, "Open meeting with local communities. Company CEO visits the region." "He is coming here," Yaru said, "to a hotel in the city. They say he wants to hear concerns and build bridges." Someone snorted. "Bridges made of paper and lies." Yaru looked at his daughter. "But bridges can be used both ways," he said quietly. Maybe if he hears our voice from the mouth of a child, he will remember he has one too." Ira frowned. "Why me?" "Because they ignore us," he said. "Men with sun on their skin and mud on their shoes. They see trouble. But a child," he smiled sadly. "A child is something their cameras like, and their cameras are the only things they truly fear." Her mother stiffened. "You want to send our daughter to beg?" she asked, pain sharp in her voice. "I want to send our truth where they can't pretend not to see it," he replied. "I will be with her. She won't be alone. But if he looks at anyone that day, it will be at the smallest face in the room." He turned back to Era. "I would carry this on my own shoulders if I could," he said. "But the world they built only listens when innocence is in front of them. That is their cruelty, not mine." Era thought of the muddy bucket, of her brother's thin arms, of the way the fish no longer flickered like silver jokes in the river. "What do I have to say?" she asked. "Only the truth," he answered. "That we are hungry, that the river is sick, that he can stop it, and that if he says no..." His voice broke for the first time. "If he says no, I don't know where we go next." The next morning, before the sun had fully lifted its head above the trees, Era's mother placed a clean dress on her bed, simple but with small embroidered patterns along the hem. She braided Era's hair tighter than usual, fingers shaking slightly. She tied a small beaded bracelet around Era's wrist. "This is from the last clean threads we dyed before the river changed," she said. "If his heart is not all stone, he will see it." On the table, waiting like a second witness, was the plastic bottle of river water, brown, cloudy, accusing. Iaru picked it up. "Let them see what their growth tastes like," he murmured. As they walked toward the old bus that would take them to the city, children followed for a few steps, watching as if they were going to another planet. "Will the man in the picture listen?" one boy asked. "I don't know," Era replied honestly. She thought of the headline, "We are proud of our growth." What would it take, she wondered, to make a man like that feel ashamed instead? She held the bottle tighter. If the river couldn't climb up to his office, then she would carry a piece of it there herself. The city rose up in front of Era like a wall of glass and noise. Buses roared past, coughing black clouds. Cars honked not because they needed to, but because they could. The air smelled of fuel and frying oil instead of wet leaves and river mud. Buildings clawed at the sky, all angles and reflections, as if trying to erase the shape of trees. Ira held her father's hand tightly, the plastic bottle bumping against her thigh with each step. Brown water sloshed inside it, the river reduced to something small enough to fit in her palm. "There," Iaru said. Across the street, a building of blue-tinted glass gleamed in the morning sun. Its entrance was lined with polished stone, too smooth to have ever known mud. Two flags flapped lazily above the door, one of the country, the other with the company logo printed large and proud. Underneath, a banner read, "Community Dialogue, Building a Sustainable Future Together." "Together," Era repeated under her breath. Do they know what that word means? They waited for the light to change and crossed with a crowd of people in clean shirts and anxious eyes. Inside, cold air hit her face like an invisible wall. The floor shone so much she could see her own reflection in it. Small bare arms, borrowed dress, thick braid, brown bottle in hand. Security guards stood near metal detectors, wearing dark uniforms and serious expressions. One of them frowned as soon as he saw them. "Event is upstairs," he said. "Registration is for invited guests only." "We saw the flyer," Iaru replied. "It says, local communities welcome. We are local community." The guard looked them up and down, taking in the worn sandals, the bracelet on Era's wrist, the plastic bottle. "You from some NGO?" he asked. "No," Iaru said. "We are from the river." The guard's mouth twisted. Another man in a suit approached, tablet in hand. "Is there a problem?" he asked smoothly. "They say they're local community," the guard replied. "No badges." The man in the suit glanced at a list on his screen. "What village?" he asked, not because he cared, but because there were boxes to tick. "Lower Turi," Iaru said, "downstream from your factory." Something flickered in the suit man's eyes, then smoothed over. "You're not on the registered list," he said. "These meetings are structured. You can't just walk in." "We sent letters," Iaru insisted. "We came to the office. No one answered. You said the CEO would listen today." The man in the suit sighed, clearly wanting this conversation to disappear. "The CEO will meet with official representatives," he said. "Mayors, association leaders, NGOs. Not everyone. There are channels for complaints." He gestured vaguely, as if channels were a river that might magically clean itself. Ira watched his lips move and felt a familiar heat rise in her chest. She imagined turning the bottle upside down right there on the shining floor, letting the brown water spread under their polished shoes, staining their invisible boundaries. Before she could say anything, a woman with a name badge and a worn tote bag stepped forward. "It's all right," she said quickly. "They're with us." The man in the suit turned. "We are at capacity, Clara," he said, irritated. "We can't let every—" "They're exactly who this meeting is supposed to be for," she cut in, voice calm but firm. "Your email said affected communities. They're affected. They come in with me." She flashed a quick, practiced smile that said, "Don't argue with me in front of witnesses." The suit man hesitated, exhaled through his nose, then stepped aside. "Fine," he said. "But they sit in the back. We have an agenda." Clara winked at Era. "Come on," she said. "I'm from an NGO, which means I annoy them for a living. You picked a good day to show up." They rode an elevator that hummed and blinked and made Era's stomach feel like it was trying to climb out. When the doors opened, they stepped into a conference room that looked like a TV set. White tablecloths, bottles of mineral water lined up like soldiers, small microphones placed exactly the same distance apart. A big screen at the front showed the company logo and the words, "Listening to our communities." People in suits sat near the front. People in polo shirts and jeans sat in the middle. The ones who looked most like Era and her father, faces browned by sun instead of computer light, were scattered at the back. Clara found 2 empty chairs along the wall. "Sit here," she said. "He'll make a speech first, then they'll open for questions. When they do, stand fast. Keep your hand up. Don't let them run out of time without hearing you." She tapped the bottle gently. "And don't be afraid to show them that," she added. "They like diagrams, numbers, charts. Sometimes they need to see what they've done in a form they can't turn into a slide." A murmur spread through the room as people settled. Then he walked in. He looked exactly like the newspaper. Gray suit that probably cost more than Era's house. White shirt. Tie the color of fresh ink. Hair arranged so perfectly it seemed afraid of wind. His smile switched on as soon as he saw the room, bright and practiced. People clapped. "Good morning," he began, his voice deep and smooth. "It's an honor to be here with all of you. Our company has always believed in partnership. We are proud of our growth, but more than profit, we care about people." The words rolled out like they'd been used many times before. Era watched his face, not his mouth. His eyes moved just above the crowd, as if he were reading something hanging on the back wall. He talked about sustainability, social responsibility, compliance with regulations. He clicked a remote and the screen showed photos of smiling children in clean uniforms, standing next to brand new soccer fields with the company logo on them. "Through our outreach programs," he said, "we have brought development to communities that were forgotten for decades." Forgotten. Era's fingers tightened around the bracelet. When he finally said, "We are here today to listen," it sounded like a line he'd underline in a report later. A moderator took the microphone. "We will now open for a few questions," she said. "Please remember we have limited time, so keep your interventions short and objective." Hands shot up. Mayors, community leaders, a man with a badge that said, "Association President." The moderator scanned the room and chose. Questions came: roads, jobs, noise, dust. The CEO nodded, furrowed his brow at the right moments, promised to evaluate, to create a working group, to look into that. Every time someone from the back raised a hand, the moderator's gaze slipped past them like water. Beside Ira, Yaru's leg bounced up and down. "Now," Clara whispered, "stand up." Ira swallowed. She stood. Her small hand rose above a sea of sleeves and watches and manicure. At first, no one noticed. The moderator looked toward the front again, scanning badges like codes. "Over there," Clara said suddenly, pointing, forcing the room's attention backward. "The girl." Dozens of heads turned. The CEO's gaze followed, landing on a small figure in a simple dress, holding a cloudy bottle. "That's new," he murmured, adjusting his posture. The moderator hesitated, then forced a smile. "Yes, you, the young lady," she said. "Please go ahead. Just remember, we need to be brief." The microphone traveled from hand to hand until it reached Era. It was heavier than she expected. Cold. Smooth. Nothing like wood. Nothing like the tools she knew. She held it in both hands. "Sir," she began, voice soft but clear. "My name is Era. I'm from the village by the lower Turi River." The CEO nodded politely, expression neutral. "I brought you something," she said. She lifted the plastic bottle high enough for everyone to see. Brown water shifted inside, catching the white lights on its dirty surface. "This is our river," she continued. "The one next to your factory. We used to drink from it, fish from it. It used to be clear. Now it smells bad. The fish die. Our children get sick. We are hungry." A few people shifted in their seats. One man near the front pulled his phone out, recording. "My dad said you are the only one who can stop this," Era said. "That you can make the pipes stop putting poison in the river. That you can make the people at the office listen. That you can fix what is breaking us." Her throat tightened, but she kept going. Please, sir, she whispered into the microphone, every eye on her now. Please save our village. We are all so hungry. The room was suddenly very, very quiet. For a moment, something flickered behind the CEO's eyes. Not a tear, he was too trained for that, but a small crack in the professional mask. He glanced at the bottle, then at the cameras, then at the moderator. His hand adjusted his tie by reflex. When he finally spoke, his voice was almost kind. Thank you, Era, he said. Your concern is very touching. Touching, like a cute drawing on a fridge. I want you to know, he continued, switching into a tone that sounded rehearsed, that our company follows all environmental regulations. We invest heavily in modern treatment systems. If there is any issue with the water, we will certainly investigate. He smiled at the room as if offering them a warm blanket. But we also have to be careful, he added, looking back at her, about confusion of causes. Climate change, illegal dumping by third parties, natural changes in the river. Not everything is our responsibility. Era stared, stunned. He had somehow used many words and said nothing at all. My brother is skinny, she blurted. He cries at night because his stomach hurts. Is that climate change too? A nervous laugh escaped someone in the crowd, quickly silenced. The CEO's smile thinned. I understand your emotion, he said, this time with a hint of steel. But we cannot make decisions based on feelings and isolated perceptions. That is why we have experts, reports, official channels. Have your community file a formal complaint and our team will analyze it. We did. Yaru called out, standing now too. We went to your office. They said everything was within limits. The CEO spread his hands in a gesture of helpless reasonableness. Then I'm sure the reports are correct, he said. Sometimes things feel worse than they are. But we will continue monitoring. That is all I can promise today. The moderator stepped in quickly. Thank you, Era, she said, smiling a little too hard. We appreciate your participation. Next question? The microphone began its journey away from her. That's it? Era asked, voice small, no amplification now. We show you our river and you say, it's just feelings? The CEO had already turned back to the front. The audience was already shifting its attention to the next speaker, a mayor with a firm handshake and a prepared speech. A security guard appeared near their row, as if by accident. Clara touched Era's arm gently. Come, she whispered. You did what you could. As they walked out of the cold room, past the logo, past the polite smiles that didn't reach any eyes, Era felt something inside her break, and something else quietly take its place. In the elevator, staring at her reflection in the mirrored walls, she whispered to her father, He was never going to save us, was he? Yaru's jaw was tight. No, he said. But now the whole room knows what he said when a hungry child begged him to. Outside, under the too bright sun, a young man who worked in the building stood smoking near the door, phone still in his hand. On his screen, a video replayed on loop. A small girl with a bottle of dirty water, a powerful man adjusting his tie, and a sentence that would soon travel much further than anyone inside that room intended. The clip was less than a minute long. No polished intro, no logo, just a shaky phone recording from the middle of the conference room. Ira stood there with the bottle in her hand, eyes wide but steady. Her small voice cut through the background noise. Please save our village. We are all so hungry. Then came the CEO's answer, calm, safe, wrapped in words like regulations, reports, and feelings. The video ended on his face as he said, That is all I can promise today. Someone posted it with a caption, This is what sustainability looks like when the cameras aren't supposed to be watching. By the time Era and her father reached the bus stop, the clip had been shared a few dozen times. By the time they reached the edge of the city, it had thousands of views. By the time the bus rattled back onto the dusty road toward the river, it had crossed a line no one could erase. In the village, signal came and went like shy birds, but this time it held just long enough. Teenagers huddled around a phone, faces lit by the small screen. They watched Era, in her too big borrowed dress, holding the dirty bottle like a flag. They watched the CEO adjust his tie, talk about confusion of causes, and step neatly around her hunger. They watched it again and again. "Look at his eyes," one boy said quietly. "He looks at her like a problem, not a person." Her mother watched only once. Then she turned away, covering her mouth with her hand. "Was I wrong to send you?" she asked. "No," Era said. "You were right. He's the one who was wrong." Her little brother tugged at her dress. "Did the man fix the river?" "Not yet," she answered. "But now a lot of people saw what he chose to do when I asked." Environmental pages picked up the clip, then local news, then a national program looking for 3 minutes of real life between commercials. On one channel, a presenter with perfect hair asked, "Are big companies really listening to communities, or just pretending when it's convenient?" On the company's social media, comments piled up. "So regulations say brown water is fine now? Hungry kids are just feelings? Show the reports you're hiding behind." Hashtags formed. Anger found a face to attach itself to, a small Indigenous girl holding a bottle of evidence. In headquarters, far from the river, emergency meetings multiplied. "This is being taken out of context," one communications manager insisted. "No," another said, rubbing his temples. "This is exactly the context. That's the problem." The CEO watched the clip on a large screen in a quiet boardroom. He heard his own voice say, "We cannot make decisions based on feelings and isolated perceptions," and for the first time it sounded wrong even to him. A younger executive spoke carefully. "Sir, we've always known the discharge near the lower Turi was borderline. Legal on paper, but borderline. If independent auditors go now with this attention..." She didn't finish. He stared out the window where he could see nothing but other buildings. "What are you suggesting?" "That we act before someone forces us to," she replied. "Shut down that line for upgrades, improve treatment, fund a community system. If we wait until it's in order, it will be punishment. If we move now, it might still look like responsibility." He didn't like the word punishment near his name. He liked even less that a girl from a village he'd never visited had become a mirror he couldn't control. "Prepare a plan," he said, "and get me the contact for that village leader." Weeks later they came. First engineers and technicians in new boots, squinting at pipes and outlets, taking samples where the water foamed with quiet anger. Then, one morning, a different boat appeared. This one carried cameras, folders, and a man in a simple shirt that still somehow looked expensive. He stepped onto the riverbank awkwardly, as if the earth might stain him. Children stopped playing. Adults paused in their work. Ira stood near the mango tree, bracelet on her wrist. She hadn't brought the bottle. The river was all around them now. It didn't need plastic to prove it existed. The CEO saw her and hesitated. Up close, without microphones and banners, she was just a girl. But just a girl had done what entire departments of risk management could not. "Hello, Era," he said. "I remember you." "I know," she replied. "The internet made sure of that." His staff shifted uncomfortably. He cleared his throat. "We've reviewed our operations upstream," he said. "We're upgrading treatment, reducing discharge, allowing independent monitoring. We also want to support clean water systems here. Filters, tanks, maybe even solar pumps." "Will that bring the fish back?" she asked. He opened his mouth, then chose honesty over comfort for the first time. "Not quickly," he admitted. "Maybe not completely. Some damage takes longer to undo than to cause." "Then you should have thought earlier," an elder said simply. He nodded. "You're right." An agreement was drafted, this time with people from the village at the table, Clara from the NGO beside them, and a lawyer who translated legal knots into real words. "If they fail," he told Yaru quietly, "you'll have proof, not just promises." Ira didn't clap when they signed. She didn't smile for the cameras. But that night, when she filled a small cup from a test filter and the water came out almost clear, she let herself cry without hiding it. Her brother drank and laughed. "It doesn't taste like soap," he said. The river was not healed. Not yet. Maybe not ever like before. But something else had shifted. In a school far away, a teacher played the clip and asked a classroom, "What do you see here? A troublemaker or a truth we didn't want to see?" In an office, a young executive now hesitated before signing off on warm, empty phrases like, within limits, hearing Era's voice at the back of her mind. And in the village, under a sky that had never needed a logo to be important, Ira sat by the water's edge, feet above the slow current. Her father sat beside her. "Do you still think he is the only one who can save us?" she asked. Yaru shook his head. "No," he said. "The river spoke through you. He just couldn't pretend to be deaf anymore." Ira watched the water swirl, a little less brown, a little more alive. "I don't want to be just a video," she said. "I want to be an engineer." He smiled. "Then we'll find a way," he replied. "So next time they say we are proud of our growth, you'll be the one deciding what grows and where." The river flowed on, carrying poison and promise, memory and possibility, no longer alone in refusing to be quiet.